should order a case of MSG off Amazon Prime.
Yeah, just go in and just spray it all over the things you own.
Just sprinkle it on everything.
God, that'd be great.
So, reboots.
Yeah, reboots.
Thief 4.
Thief
Not
4.
Thief 4, it's Thief.
Yeah,
They're not
took
putting
the 4
4
out.
there, it's just Thief.
They
Thief
took
4.
out the 4, they took out the supernatural things.
Which
so
is
now you're
okay.
just
Oh,
a-
Tomb Raider?
Tomb Raider, yeah.
Tomb Raider.
Two in one
9?
Was Hitman
It's-
no. Was that?
No, that was not a reboot.
That was a sequel.
They actually had narrative connections to Blood Money.
Yeah.
Well, what is a reboot though? That brings up a good question. Is it a
That's a
graphics
good
overhaul
question,
or something
Tara.
else? Thank you, Max.
I think with a reboot, you're generally kind of cherry picking the elements that you like and throwing those in. It can be a massive overhaul completely.
To your point about, is it when you do the graphics overhaul? I don't think this standard applies now, but I remember when I started out, actually giving a new number to a game was significant because that meant it had a new engine, it had
Right.
new tech, and that everything that didn't have that was just kind of a new subtitle, like,
Right.
like forgiveness of
Retribution.
methodologies.
Yeah.
I really wish that we could go back to the number system denoting a new game, and save all the colon, ascension, judgment, retribution, revelations, that kind of stuff.
Because it's tough to keep track.
Save that for the DLC. Save that for the expansion packs.
But they still use that though to denote what is a sequel and what isn't, because they have Assassin's Creed
Infamous,
4, but then they
Second
also
Son,
have Assassin's Creed
Killzone,
Brotherhood.
Shadowfall.
See, now I still think that, and I might be wrong, that the Assassin's Creed is still consistent. That they changed the engine for 2. They may not have changed it that much. I know they seem to be doing with Assassin's Creed that you get a new number with a new character. That's why it's gone from Connor in 3 to Roger Daltrey in number 4. He kind of looks like him. He's got the
Pirate.
I
guy.
noticed blonde hair with big locks because I used to go like this once.
What was that like for you? When did you reboot your hair?
I rebooted it all of about a year ago. I just kind of.
You had a gritty reboot.
I had a. Well, it was a desperate reboot. The way I looked at it is that it was time to take the plastic off the cushions because she ain't coming back. And
I think that's a smart decision to make.
Yeah.
I'm really sad that you just said that sentence. But yeah, let's go back to video games.
Let's go back to video games, and this has been a week of mortality for me. So
yeah. What are some reboots that have worked? Like what's?
Well, I think Tomb Raider worked pretty successfully. I mean, that franchise saw so much fatigue near the end. Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was
a good one.
Huge.
That
huge
counts.
successful reboot.
Fallout 3, which some people will still argue that the original games were better, but I personally prefer.
It's kind of apples and oranges.
It is really
Yeah.
apples
Yeah.
and oranges in that
I mean,
case, but
look-
that is a good example of a legitimately good reboot.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Fallout 3 being an exception, I tend to look at a reboot as you're wiping the canon. You're starting over fresh. Tomb Raider definitely did that, but you're trying to hold on to those essential elements that would still justify naming it in that franchise.
Right.
Another thing that happens, because this is video games and this is software and the technology is constantly being improved upon, can you really even have a true reboot, or is it always just kind of sort of an improvement? Like, with movies, it's like there still are technological advances, but they're like, okay, those other Batman movies were too big and silly. We're gonna scale this back. Whereas now it's like, okay, this new one is gonna be more technologically advanced, but stylistically it's gonna be, trimmed down, scaled back.
I feel like technology actually has very little to do with it. I feel like it's more an overhaul of the mechanics, an overhaul of the story, and for Tomb Raider, I mean, obviously the new game looks different because it is built on a different engine, but it also just has a different, like the world has a different feel around it, I think.
I was thinking it'd be funny if in the next one, if they explain what happened to make her boobs bigger, like if she just got stung by a bunch of bees, they just came and they just stung her in the boobs and they just got all big and she had
Filled
Back
with
in the old days,
she has
that
to
was
go
augmentation.
and just find an EpiPen. Actually, I thought it'd be really funny if in the second one she gets cursed by an evil witch or something for raiding a tomb, and they just turn her into polygons, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm a craft. I'm made out of 16 shapes."
So what you're saying is you should never be a video game
That's
developer?
exactly what I'm getting at here.
That's good.
What are some reboots we'd like to see? What are some ones that could use a do of them?
Oh, jeez.
I mean, there's one, and they tried to reboot it. I don't think Any of the original games were good, but in concept, I really liked them, and it was the Turok franchise.
I'm with you there.
I like Turok 2 in concept because it was this weird world with lizard people. I actually prefer it without straight up dinosaurs. And that
How do you fuck up a game where you hunt dinosaurs? How do you fuck that up?
Well, think about dragons in games. There was no good dragon game until Skyrim. I mean, remember Lair?
Yeah.
You're riding dragons attacking people. That's kind of like you've signed, sealed, and delivered.
That's a good point.
But then you throw in a 6-axis, and things go higgledy-piggledy.
I feel like there's also a correlation between the amount of time between the last game in a series and the reboot, which also factors in a lot. Like, you have all this added pressure. Think about Duke Nukem. That's technically a reboot.
No, that was the recalibration of existing content to finally get a game out.
God,
It looks so different than the previous ones, though.
Well,
that's because it took 12 years to make Terra.
That is an engine. I think they went through 3 different engines. Unreal was one of them for a period of time. But I think the next Duke Nukem will easily be a reboot.
I'd love to see a Duke Nukem reboot where it's just I mean, it would be sort of a parody of the characters. It'd be a parody of video games as a whole.
I think it'd be fun to kind of deal with Duke Nukem in kind of the real world with the social norms we have now, and he's kind of this whole
everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Action icon.
Yeah. He's basically just a giant 14-year-old. I picked up the poop and I threw it at some shit.
Imagine
Fuck all my farts. I'm Duke Nukem.
Imagine a Hotline Miami Duke Nukem crossover. That sounds amazing.
That sounds really good, actually. Okay, another game I would love.
To my dick, I farted on all the poops. I'm sorry. Like, he just has like cartoon Tourette's, and everyone's like,
I'm so
Duke
glad we
Nukem.
don't tape these things, because, I mean, yeah.
I've said this a million times. I want to see a Kid Chameleon reboot.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I mean, essentially, Assassin's Creed is a Kid Chameleon reboot. You know, you're this like shitty little guy who nobody likes, and they're like, hey, you've got to get in this virtual reality arcade machine and go back in time and put on different hats. And then but it was instead of an arcade, it was an animus, and instead of different hats, it was ancestors through DNA. And it's like, don't explain it. Just have me putting on different hats and getting powers. That's all I want.
You know what I want to see a reboot of? And this is going to be probably an opinion that nobody shares. The Incredible Machine. Did anyone play that?
I know that game.
That was like one of my first computer games, and it was all like logic, and you have to arrange things. The whole game is like a Rube Goldberg machine, basically.
That would be rad.
And I don't know, they might have made sequels to the game. I don't know. I only played the first one, but
The
it was
Machine?
The Incrediblest Machine.
The Incrediblest.
It'd be great to see the Little Big Planet guys do that.
Yeah, that would be
and
amazing.
Just create this virtual space where everything reacts physically, but you don't have the logistics of actually trying
Because at the end of the day, that's what I think is the most fun about a game. Why I was so into it when I was a kid, really young. It's just the cause and effect. There's something inherently neat about hitting the button and it's somehow represented up on the screen. And I think it all comes back to a Rube Goldberg puzzle.
Play with toys.
Just
Play
setting
with
up the
toys.
dominoes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Because we like things that do things to other things.
Instant satisfaction.
So modern reboots. Obviously, we have Thief coming, which makes me very excited.
SimCity is technically a reboot, I think.
No, yeah, they took away the numbers.
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
You know it's a reboot when they just call it SimCity, Thief, Tomb Raider.
I guess you're right. That's
I
a
guess
good
that
word.
is the naming nomenclature for this sort of thing.
What do I want to see? What's a good one? I'd love to see Metal Gear get rebooted. I'd love to see that happen. I know that everyone would hate me for saying that, but I'd like to see a game that's just a game based on Escape from New York on the Fox engine. I think that would be pretty cool. It'd be a game where you're Kurt Russell and you just stealthing around.
You know what? You just also pointed out that it's just a little strange that that license hasn't been used. An Escape from New York game, that could work as a game. Like the way you're in a pretty constrained environment. You're yeah.
Copyright. I just copyrighted that idea.
Yeah.
It's verbal binding.
So can you think of anything else that you want to reboot?
This entire conversation.
Yeah. If we could do it
go
all
for
over
like
again.
a dark and gritty version of it, where you have like eyeliner on or something.
You know what? I'm reimagining it right now.
A gritty reimagining.
I'm experiencing
Zack Snyder's
it
directing
all
it.
over again for the first time.
Oh, it's visionary.